leave you with what I call some engagement and execution tips for leaders going forward and some ideas. And then I will stay on. It hopefully will be Q&A along the way. As I said, interrupt me, but I will stay on as needed after to answer any of your individual questions, if that's okay. So I think I'd love, Alicia, to start and go around and just have people introduce themselves. Okay, or we can do the poll. That's perfect. No problem. No problem. This is great. Let's do the poll. If you'll just take a minute, and I'll be quiet so you can read, and then we'll do introductions after that.
Does anyone need help with the poll? If you do, just raise your hand if you don't know how to use the poll option. Welcome, Erin. We are just taking a poll if you would like to join us.
I think Brittany also has joined.
Yes.
For those of you who are just joining, we are taking a poll really quick, so please hop on and join us in the poll.
And Alicia and Deb, just for your information, this is Vaughn. I've got the beautiful ocean blowing into the palm tree there. Corporate is doing some maintenance computer right now, so that's why I'm not putting my face up there, because I have my screens, other screens are active right now.
Okay.
But I can see all of you.
We thought it was because you didn't want to show us your beach body, Vaughn.
I wish.
No problem. Hey, thanks for explaining that. That's great. Okay.
I think everyone's finished the poll for now, so, and it looks like most of us are ready for business to open and wishing it hadn't taken so long, and we're kind of split on want to get back but little worried or need to follow social distancing, but no one is very worried, so that's good.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see this, Alicia. I'm going to go ahead and, since we've all, let's see, 8 of 10, we've got a couple more people coming in.
For those of you just joining us, we're trying to end our poll. If you want to jump on the poll and give us your feedback so that Deb can answer any questions, that would be great.
Welcome, Amy.
Okay, I think we're just waiting on one more, and then you can get started, Deb.
Great, and I'll tell you what, Alicia, why don't we go ahead and start introductions while we're waiting for that last person, if we could.
Okay.
If you guys want to just go, that would be awesome. Tracy, I'm going to pick on you and start with you.
Okay, great. My name is Tracy Irby. I am the Associate Director at TWU Center for Women Entrepreneurs. I'm tired of being at home. You wanted a little something else, right? But I mean, I understand what we're doing, and we may be going back next month. So I look forward to that.
Very good. Thanks, Tracy. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Elliott, Area Manager for CoServe Electric and Gas, working from home since March the 16th, which is tough for me because I love people and I love one-on-one interaction. So, I mean, I'm fine, and it's been a blessing because my daughter moved in with me, so I've got to spend some extra time with her, but I'm ready to see some people.
You bet.
And I think we find out June 1st when we go back.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. All right, Kevin?
Yes, my name is Kevin Dover. I'm an independent broker for Murphy Business Sales. I help people buy and sell businesses. I have been working from home since 2003. So this has really cut back my interaction with humans. But other than business, this is the norm for me. Work from home, burn it at both ends, flexible schedule. Now I just incorporate a whole lot of Netflix. So
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Allison, how about you?
there we go. We're fighting over the mute button. Allison Hayes. I'm a relationship manager with Frost Bank. It's been good. I mean, it's been a good coping mechanism coming into work every single day. That's been a nice steady in all of this, but I definitely miss our community. I like seeing everybody. That's been a hard thing to go without. So, and going out, especially in all this beautiful weather, being able to see everybody out and about on the patios and seeing all of our businesses, you know, without their people. So I'm ready to reopen. So
ready to get rolling. Thank you, Allison. Okay, Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm Vaughn Bucher. I'm a principal at McAdams. We're a multidiscipline professional land design firm. Civil engineering, land surveying, boundary work, topo, landscape architecture, and also planning and entitlements. And we were able to transition pretty easily to working from home because most of our work is done on computers with the exception of our survey staff. And you'll see the survey guys out doing construction staking and boundary surveying. And but we were able to get them all the necessary PPEs, and they're doing fine. I've been to the office 3 times this week, kind of to check. Our management team is coming up with our re-entry protocols, which will probably roll out next week, which will include policies on coffee pot usage. I mean, that's a real big concern, and it's a real concern about everybody using the coffee pot. And when do you wipe it down? Before, after, or, you know, what's the protocol? And we'll have sanitizer at all the doors and the bathrooms and everything. But so yeah, there's a little bit of angst there, but I think really most people that we're in contact with are ready to get out and see people. We may not be doing as much hugging and shaking hands as we used to, but we can always reach out and do the virtual hug and the air hug or whatever you call it. And I'm like Jennifer, we all want to get out and be with people. So looking forward to what you have to say, Deb.
Oh, great. Thank you, Vaughn. Appreciate that. Okay, Amy, how about you?
Hi, I'm Amy Cole. I'm an agent with New York Life, and I greatly miss the activity of meeting with you guys and being in the chamber. And the activity level is important for relationship building, which is a primary part of my business, in seeing what people's needs are. I think there's a lot of people that are almost paralyzed because of the situation that they find themselves in, whether it's loss of job or illness in their family. It's interesting. I was asking someone the other day, I said, do you know anyone that's had COVID-19? And they said, no, I don't know anybody that's had it. And now that time has come on, I now know 2 people that have died of it. And so it brings it closer and closer and closer into your being of, this is a very real situation. But I'm ready to open up with caution.
Yes. No, thank you for sharing that. It does feel like over time it is getting closer and closer to those of us who have been fortunate enough not to be directly impacted. It feels like those days are that's shifting, and it will continue to likely as we get out and about more, right? So thank you. Okay, and the gentleman now in my box to your right, I don't have a name for you, unfortunately, but you've got a headset on and a navy jacket, I believe. You want to go next? Aaron.
We're fighting over the mute button. Okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Aaron Spatz, founder and CEO of Bold Media. And no, it's been a wild ride. I've been working from home since Q4 of last year, and just been spending, actually the bulk of my time has been consulting with my clients on just the different brand positioning and messaging and things that they need to be doing now and coming out of this whole mess, and how they could position their brands best for when things go back to whatever normal is going to look like. So we're not going to live in the same world that we did 90 days ago. So it's going to look a lot different. But no, it's just a pleasure to connect with everybody here, and thanks for being here.
Yes, thanks, Aaron. I agree, and I may need your help as well. So my
Sure.
business is completely changing, as all of us are, right? So great point. Thank you. Rhonda?
There we go. I got the mute button off. How are you today?
Great.
Good. I'm with Western and Southern Life and Western and Southern Financial Group, and my business has been greatly affected because people are just scared.
Yeah.
We work a lot with the middle market, and a lot of them are out of work, or their kids are out of work, and it's affected families greatly. People are just really, really scared right now. So I'm doing the same thing, reaching out to my clients, just reassuring them, letting them know we're here and don't know what our new normal is going to look like. I actually enjoy working from home. I find I work more, and I can be a little more flexible, because that commute time is gone. I'm worried about opening up too soon, but my daughter's a nurse, so I'm guided by her input a little bit. And I actually know someone who had COVID. They just don't know when they had it, but she's a nurse also. So it's out there. And I think that at some point, all of us are going to know somebody that's had it or been affected by it if we don't already. You remember when the flu was so bad that one year, and I think we've gained a lot of insight.
Yep.
And I think business also has gained a lot of insight, employers as well as employees, about good things to do when you're sick. Stay home.
Yep.
Because it affects things greater. So I don't know what our new normal is going to be. I'm honestly a little bit excited because I think right about now change is going to be good.
Yeah.
I think we need some change.
We're going to talk about that. So
Awesome.
hang on to that thought. That's awesome. I'm glad you feel that way. Some people are feeling that way. Thank you. CJ?
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is CJ Valia, and I'm opening a new school, a Goddard School in Haslett, and it's still under construction. So the construction had no impact as of now, but then I'm worried what's going to happen once we open the doors in September, August, and our industry is really impacted. But having said that, the governor has said we can still get children for emergency or essential workers. So those kids can still come to us for childcare, but then, I don't know how the industry is going to look like. So I'm going to be going to new business with really bad situation. Again, till we have a cure or a vaccine, this is how it's going to be. So
yeah,
let us see. But, I think it's a little bit drama also because, we have a flu season, and this is like, yes, this is a little bit more intense flu, but now the way we all have gone against this, it's going to be difficult to convince people, because I have parents also, they're 82 and 81, and they live in Plano, and luckily they don't have any underlying issue. So, but they're still scared and quarantine, and even I try to visit them once in a while just to make sure they're doing good and get them grocery.
Yep.
Yeah, tough times.
Thank you, CJ. I appreciate you sharing that. I think there's a lot of people sharing a little bit of that kind of frustration and ready to move on. I think, again, we're kind of all over the map. Okay, we've got 3 more. Susan Allen.
Hello, how is everybody doing? It's
good.
Everybody. I have horrible allergies, so I have no makeup on, and I'm blowing my nose every 2 seconds, which is why I'm not on here in person. So, I'm with Mr. Restore. We are still helping people, serving people with their disaster needs, especially with the storms and stuff. But I said, we're here to support the community. We've been out feeding police and fire and still supporting the nonprofits that we do. So if anybody needs anything, just holler at us.
Wow. Thank you, Susan, for all the work you're doing. I know there's a lot of resources and people doing great work, so appreciate that. Pearl?
Oh, I'm a volunteer for the chamber, and I'm just here to observe.
We're so glad you're here, Pearl. Thank you for joining us. And Brittany? Did I already call on Brittany?
No. Sorry. I am talent development for Texas Workforce Solutions. So I've been seeing a lot of job seekers and employers impacted. It's something different every day. And a lot of our team got pulled to the UI project. So a lot of you may have heard the influx of claims. So they pulled a lot of people from the state departments, as high as like 700 different folks to help process claims. So it's been different.
I bet you've been extremely busy. Did I miss anyone? Okay, great. So thank you guys for giving us some time to get to know each other. You may know each other, but it's great to put a little context to how you're showing up today. So interesting poll results. I think I did share, and you see what's represented here in the poll just from this call is very much, I think, in line with the fact that we as a nation and likely as a world are really kind of all over on, are we ready? Do we think the world's ready? Are we ready to move on? How are we feeling? So it's not uncommon to see this be all over. We're going to talk about that a little bit today because it's really important for our mindset to make sure that we have not only a good understanding of where we are amongst this pandemic, but where the world is as well as we're interacting again with clients and customers, family members, neighbors, etc. Just a couple of stats from a poll that was launched, or the results came in end of last week, just to share with you. And again, this is good reflection. It looks like this group overall leans into the ready to get on with things, still some uncertainty, still some concerns, but ready to kind of start opening back up. The poll that there's a couple of polls, 73% of voters believe that the US should continue social distancing, but even if it further damages the economy. 73%. This is a poll, results came in last week. And that's from Politico. Another one, 65% of people polled believe it's a bad idea to have people return to work without further testing. That's 65%. That was a PBS NPR poll. And then this one surprised me, 80% thought it was a bad idea to open restaurants without further testing. So why am I sharing this? I'm not sharing this to convince you of anything. I'm sharing this to just show you that people by and large are still really engaged in a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. And that's important because when we aren't there, and CJ, you specifically, when you're feeling a little like, why is everyone so panicked? There are things like the flu, absolutely, that take us on in such a more significant way. It can be difficult to understand where people are coming from. And so by having that reality check of people are really all over on this, it helps us bring empathy. I think I teach emotional intelligence as a coach as well. And I think it's really important. The two most important emotional intelligence skills, in my opinion, right now are awareness and empathy as we're engaging with others. And awareness is just what we did. It's you thinking about where you are and then also being aware of really where others are, because that helps us as we interact with people. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I want to share, I prefer looking at your faces over slides. I did put a deck together, but I just really want to focus on one slide to launch us. And this is just a great way with even your input to really think about where we are. So I want to show you something. And, ooh, can you see my screen?
Now we can.
Can you? Okay, can you see this?
The Kibler-Ross change curve?
Yes. And have any of you guys seen this change curve before? Is this familiar to you?
I have not seen that.
Okay. So what this essentially is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross created this years and years ago. And this is really just helping us understand the stages that we go through when we're dealing with significant change. Interestingly enough, this was initially created by her in dealing with the stages of grief. And that always speaks to me because I think it's so interesting that there would be so much alignment between how we deal with grief and how we deal with significant change. That tells you that change is just challenging for us. And we as a world and a society have likely not been through such a significant world change as what we're living through. We know that it's impacted us personally, professionally. We see it every day. So this is no surprise. But understanding these different stages can be incredibly helpful to not only determining where you are, but maybe to be hopeful that if you're in one stage that you can hopefully move through the other stages. What's important on this change curve that Elizabeth really wanted to be clear on is it's not necessarily that we start in shock, move initially then to denial, frustration, depression, and then bounce right back up. Now, ideally, that is the way we go through this particular change when it occurs, but it isn't always. I myself personally, as a leadership coach and as a business owner, I find myself bouncing from integration, experiment, back to frustration, because this has had a tremendous impact on my business. And so it's really important to, first of all, normalize that this is a typical cycle we can go through when we're experiencing significant change, but also to realize that we can easily bounce around just depending on circumstances and where we are. Does anybody want to share kind of where they might be or if they can relate to this particular change curve?
Yeah, this is Vaughn. I've been through all of these, just almost verbatim in order, and I'm on the upswing of decision and looking forward to integrate into the new normal, whatever that looks like.
That's great, Vaughn. Thank you for sharing that. And isn't it great to be on that side of this when you are?
I think I'm right where Vaughn is. Kind of gone through the frustration and the depression was, I mean, that's hard. And then the experimental phase makes it fun. Then you get to the decision. So I think that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm in the same place Vaughn is, looking forward to adapting and moving on.
Let's take one more.
I feel like there's something missing from here that we might all be feeling here is anxiousness.
Yes.
You know, we've got the integration in here, we've got frustration, we've got an experiment, but without the connection of our coworkers all together and under one roof, you know, it's kind of a trial and error. And so we're anxious to get back together. We're anxious to see what works and for that feedback. But there's kind of like, we kind of have to rip off a Band-Aid at some point. And so that's where we're kind of like, let's take the first step. We've got to kind of put our first toe in the water. So I feel like there's kind of, you know, and that might be kind of a halfway step between these two, but I feel that myself is kind of in part of that step of feeling anxious and ready to take the next step and let's go, you know, let's get there. But yeah, that just might always be me. I'm always kind of like, all right, let's go.
Well, I love that, Allison. And when you say anxious, I take it that you mean it in an excitement way, not in an anxious, I'm nervous way, right? Like anxious to kind of move on, which is some of what we've heard from the others today. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I don't know where that would belong on this particular curve. It may be somewhere on that kind of experiment, decision, integration, excitement, that sort of vein, if you will. Well, that's great. Well, and so again, I'm going to stop sharing so we can get back together. So, you know, why is this important? You know, I always tell clients that awareness is the doorway to change. So once we start understanding, and this is a way to really normalize our emotions, just like Vaughn said, I have watched myself go through this cycle. And I too cycled through. I stayed depressed and a little bit bummed for quite a while, just not knowing how to relaunch my business. And now I'm back on decisions. But from time to time, guess what? This reminds me that I may bounce back to frustration because it's a whole different world. My business will look totally different going forward. So it's really helpful for me to normalize this and where I am on the curve, to remember I might bounce around. And then also remember those I'm interacting with, my clients, are all over this map too. So awareness allows me to do that. So what I want to talk about a little bit, Allison, and it's the different side of anxiousness. I want to ask the question, why do you guys think that dealing with change is so very difficult for all of us? Any ideas?
I just feel like it's the unknown.
That's exactly right.
I mean, that's the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Not knowing what to expect and not
right.
knowing what the new norm's going to be.
And you know what, Jennifer, there's so much unknown when you talk about a pandemic. As a coach, of course, I've never seen this much unknown. It's not just unknown in where the business is going, in the business community. Unknown, do I feel safe? Unknown, when can I hug and see my parents again? Unknown of when's my kid going back to school? When do I have to stop being a teacher? There is so much of it out there. And I will tell you, uncertainty makes us crazy. And so I wanted to talk a little bit of neuroscience with you just about that. And this is, again, if this isn't where you are, use this as information and understand these where other people might, and realize that we're going to continue dealing with a lot of uncertainty and how that looks in our brain. And I want to just talk about two regions. I want to talk about the executive brain and the limbic brain. And I'm showing you visually. I have a slide, but I prefer seeing your faces over this slide. But the executive brain is in the front of our brain. It's the youngest part of our brain. And this is what I like to refer to as the conductor of the orchestra, okay? So this is the part of our brain that uses all the others and synchronizes and makes us be able to do things like innovate, create, connect with other people. This is the part of the brain that accesses how we build vision. So all of the really good stuff that we do, the rational decisions that we're generally making by using our executive brain. And guess what uncertainty does? Uncertainty triggers our limbic system. And our limbic system in our brain is what's called our emotional center. And so when we have uncertainty, it can trigger, depending on how we deal with uncertainty, and we're all over the map usually, but it can trigger our limbic brain, which is friend or foe. And so when we become uncertain, we see this in the purchasing of toilet paper, we start to make irrational decisions, because guess what happens? When we're using our limbic brain, it significantly slows down our access to our irrational brain or impacts it completely. And I find this fascinating because we're in the throes of it. We're going to get all this toilet paper for a family of 3, and we don't know why we're doing it. And we're not making these rational decisions because we're living in our flight mode, right? And so understanding that, and as a business leader, understanding that we're not making rational decisions when all we can see is uncertainty, can be a game changer in helping us get our profile back so we can execute and perform. So really understanding that pattern, and when we're in fight or flight, in fear with our limbic and our amygdala, we call it a hijack, then that is not where we're making wise decisions. So just the awareness of that can help us to take a pause when we're feeling triggered, take a pause when we're feeling uncertain, and realize that this isn't really a time for me to be thinking about building or growing my business. I need to step back and get myself into a more rational way of thinking. We're going to talk through that. Any questions about that bit on the brain?
I don't have a question on it, but I'm just really glad somebody's talking about it. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's honestly, it's powerful, Rhonda, when you can understand that and you can be aware when it's happening to you, and you know, I need to slow down, right? I need to think about something different so I can make wiser decisions, particularly if you're trying to pivot in your business to a new space. You need to pivot and access that part of your brain that you can't even get to when you're being triggered with uncertainty. Uncertainty is powerful. So let's talk a little bit about, what's that?
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's hard to kind of make those good decisions when everybody else is going through it too. So it's weird right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some more information I can share with you on uncertainty, but I want to get to some tools because I feel like a big part of this audience is kind of ready for that piece. And I like to call them mindset traps. So as we're building an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, how exactly do we do that? Because remember, we're all going to be ping-ponging back and forth on this change curve, right? So how do we keep ourselves in this healthy mindset and not fall to the traps that are so common? So the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the relationship between concerns and control. And so what I want you to do is take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. I need a thicker pen, okay? If you can do this while we're talking, it's helpful. So I want you to draw a line down the middle, and then, ooh, I've got a Sharpie. God, I was prepared. This is so exciting when I prepare myself. Okay, we're gonna draw a line down the middle, and I want you to draw 3 arrows like this, okay? So here's the middle line and then 3 arrows. So on this side at the top here, I want you to write concerns. And I want you just to jot down concerns that you're dealing with right now. Anything personal, professional, whatever's going on. So take a minute to do that. Sky's the limit. The pounds that I'm gaining from all the food that I'm eating, right? Whatever it is we're worried about. Okay, keep listing if you want to, but for those that feel like they've got a couple of things on it. So I want you to label each of these 3 arrows. The top one, I want you to label control. The second one, I want you to label influence. And the bottom one, I want you to label let go. And so what we're doing when we're spending our time and our energy on this section, which is how we do it, all of our concerns, and we all have many. Maybe CJ, it's opening up that school, right? Maybe it's launching the new business, it's pivoting. Aaron, it's having the right words to say to clients as they're trying to create their pivot, right? We all have this list of concerns. Generally speaking, most of where we're spending our thoughts and our energy are in this let go bucket, because it's generally something that we can't control and we can't even influence. But when we can start to move things from the concern list over to the how do I influence this concern? What is in my control here that I can fix? And then what is simply out there, which is something I'm spending my worry, my brain, my thoughts on that I simply have no control over. And how can I learn to let that go or reframe it? And I could talk to you about that later. But what we start to see is most of where we're spending our thoughts and our energy are on this bottom bucket. When we can find a solution, an interesting here for control might be creating office hours at your house. What are the don't interrupt hours that are being interrupted by your kids as you're trying to teach them? Maybe you just need an hour and a half. Create that. That's within your control. If it's eating, if it's diet, those are in our control. What about having to go back to the office and I'm not feeling ready? Well, guess what? You might have to do that. That's not in your control, but could you influence that decision by talking to your boss about your concerns and maybe setting up an environment that allowed you to feel a little bit safer so that concern started to reduce a little bit and didn't have as strong of an impact on you? So when you start to really look at these concerns and divide that out, it starts to give us some sense of control back. That's what we're lacking and that's what we're looking for. In this list of let go, I don't know when oh goodness, I just went blank. The medicines that's going to make us better. What's the word I'm looking for? That we're having, the research shows and
vaccination.
Thank you. Goodness, vaccination. I don't know when the vaccination is going to be available, and I'm worried we're going to keep getting sick and sick. Well, guess what? There's nothing in the world I can do. I'm not a scientist, so I can't cure this. So how do I reframe it or not spend my thoughts on a daily basis on that particular thing? Like me trying to figure out the word for vaccination, right? So, go ahead, Jennifer, did you say something? No. So really what we want to do is we want to think about how we're spending our concerns and where we can move them into this bucket and realize there's nothing we can do about it. How do we spend less time thinking about them? Or how do we reframe that so it doesn't paralyze us as much? Any questions or thoughts about this particular exercise that you want to share?
Vaughn said in the group chat that it reminds him of the Serenity Prayer. And a lot of people said that was very spot on the things that you can't control to let go of. So that's their feedback from the chat.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's true, Vaughn. And it's really, we get caught up in it. When we're in it, we can't see it. But things like this will allow us to realize, oh my God, I'm in it. Most of my concerns fall into this bottom bucket. I can't even influence it. I certainly can't control it. And so what do I need to do to think differently? How is this showing up? How's it impacting me and how's it benefiting me? And what would happen if I could let that go and not watch the news 24/7, right? How can I influence that a little bit? So that's one of the mindset traps, is realizing that relationship between control and concerns. The second is a tool I like to call TFAR. And this is just understanding the relationship in our mindset between thoughts and results, okay? Because a lot of times we'll think, I don't control my thoughts. And here's what I'll tell you, you actually do to a certain degree. Now, you might not control a certain thought that enters your head. Oh my God, I must go buy toilet paper because there's a rush on toilet paper. But if you step back, and how much you want to process that thought and how long you want to live in that space is completely up to you. And so understanding the relationship between our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and the results that we get can be incredibly powerful in mindset. I will tell you, as a leadership coach, what we teach is simple, but it's not easy. If it were easy, I wouldn't have a job. But these concepts are very simple, but when you can step out of it and see it, it can absolutely change your world. So let's walk through that relationship between thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. Because if I'm thinking, my business won't survive, my business won't survive, my business won't survive. You guys chime in. What do you think my emotions are going to be if those are the thoughts that I keep processing over and over? Any ideas?
Negativity.
Negativity. What else?
Reluctance.
Absolutely. Reluctance.
And a manifestation of negative ideas instead of being positive, and see, like, how you come out of it and have new ideas and make the best of the situation.
That's right, CJ. Absolutely. That's a perspective of scarcity, right? We're looking for abundance, not scarcity. And then what do you think the actions that come out of that kind of emotion? What are we doing when we're in that state? When we're feeling negative and anxious and upset, we're likely
Controlling it.
What's that?
We're controlling it in a negative way.
Yeah. And so what kind of actions do you think you would see from someone in that space, Amy?
Making decisions that were not full of clear thought, logic thought.
That's right.
Making a knee-jerk decision.
Yeah. And what about just the person who's paralyzed, right? They're fearful, and so they just get stuck and they don't do anything. Maybe they avoid. And then what kind of results are you getting as a business leader when you're thinking those thoughts, have those emotions, and taking those actions? Well, you're not likely getting the results, and you're sure not closer to making your business be successful. So what happens when we reframe from an abundance perspective, when we say, here are the reasons why my business is going to survive? The reasons are, I have a great network, I have a low-cost product, I have a killer team of employees that are going to make it happen. When you say those things and you start to list off your competitive edge, what do you think emotionally you're going to be feeling at that point?
You begin to believe it.
Absolutely. You start to
mantra.
Yeah, you hear the mantra. You start to be confident, right? And you start to really engage that executive brain where you're brainstorming, you're innovating, you're creating all of this space, right? And this energy around that. And so what are your actions then when you're in that kind of abundance mindset? What are you going to be doing then, likely?
Positive.
What'd you say, Aaron? Yes.
Yeah, I think I almost said exactly what Amy was going to say. You're going to be more positive. Let's like, if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're going to find. So if you are so focused on why this is going to fail, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's because you're obsessing over it. But if you determine what those positive things are, what the outcome is going to look like, and I mean, it's all about your emotional state. I mean, and it's this big roller coaster that we'll find ourselves on, and it's just important to stay positive and to stay there.
That's right. And you're
also going to be a better leader, because people are going to your employees are going to want to follow you if you are positive and reassuring to them. So it's just a win-win for your employees and your business.
That's right. No, you guys got it. That's right. And so what do you do if you're already, Deb, I get this makes sense to me, but think about the results you're going to get with that kind of mindset over that scarcity mindset we started with. It's night and day. And so how do you take this information? If this comes natural for you and you can step back and see that connection, how do you share this with other people that you're working with that are getting stuck? Because we all get stuck. And sometimes we get so stuck that we don't know how to get out of it. So how do you help others understand that connection between thoughts and results so that we can reframe it and create a TFAR, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, that works for us in a leader mindset. So this is the kind of stuff. I have a worksheet. If you're interested, you can maybe type something in the chat. It's a very simple worksheet I'd be happy to share with you that I use with clients. So going forward, if you're interested, let me know.
I think one of the first things you do is lead by example.
Absolutely. You bet, Rhonda.
You have to lead by example. I mean, if you're downtrodden and scared and worried, your employees are picking up on that, and so are your customers.
Yes.
And I think that if you may not believe it, but fake it till you make it kind of thing, radiate that confidence, because base it on fact. I know that this is where I'm at. I know that this is what will happen if I work to get out of it. And if I can influence others by being positive and giving them some hope, I think it just carries forward.
That's right. And so much of this mindset, guys, plays right into success in business, success as leaders. Again, it sounds really simple, but it is so critical. Never more critical when you're dealing with something like a pandemic. This is when leaders really can shine. And when you can step back and really evaluate your mindset and how it's working for you or against you, it can be a game changer as you go forward. So I'd love to leave you guys with a couple of coach tips for how to go forward, execute, and engage here near the end. And each of these have a whole module, as you can only imagine. But I think one of the most important things is pushing ourselves and striving to move to action, because when we're in our thoughts and in our heads, usually that can be very paralyzing. So the quicker you can move to action, you're going to start to build momentum for your shift. So if you find yourself in ways of feeling stuck or like you don't have that momentum, I tell clients each week, if you're like me and you have this forever long to-do list that you never get to all of it and it can be exhausting, write out each week 3 things. If nothing else this week, I want to do these 3 things. Keeping it very simple can allow us to progress and to make progress and build that momentum. Because to get unstuck, we need momentum. So the more you can move into some sort of action now, the better you're going to be. One of the things I like to think through as a business leader is during this time, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know timelines for when we're going to resume. We all know it's going to be different. So in this time, what if you were to take a look at your business or even your role in your business and ask the question, if I were to start building my business today from scratch, what would I build? That question, when I heard it, just lit me up. So you take off all the barriers, all the things that have held you back, all the reasons I built my coaching business years ago, and you start completely with a new mindset and say, knowing what I know today, what would I build? And it starts to just get this creative, at least in me, juice going of it might look totally different. I might serve people and will serve people in a completely different way. And it starts to really energize that conversation. How do I want to engage my clients and my customers in a different way? This is a post-COVID-19 world. How do I do that? Maybe you want to reach out. There's a whole section I love to teach on client engagement. And I think, Erin, you're likely doing a lot of this. But how do I engage my clients differently? what if you went to one of your, let's say your top 3 customers, and you went to them and you just literally did one Zoom call and you asked 5 questions? How powerful would that be? How's your business? What's been the hardest thing about this pandemic for you? Where do you see yourself growing? How could we support you? And even if you wanted feedback on your work with them, maybe the last question might be something like, if we could do one thing differently, what would that be for you that would help you as a customer and as a client? But using this time to re-engage your customers in a new, unique, connected way can be incredibly powerful in lining out your competitive edge. So how do you engage clients in a whole new way that brings a new relationship out? And again, starting from scratch, what have you forgotten? What's different now that can help you build your business going forward? One of the other key tools, and I'm mindful of our time here, Alicia, I think we've got a couple of minutes left. One of the other key tools, I think, and we use this word often, and you might think of it from a mindful perspective, but staying present. And to most people, staying present, I think, means being engaged in the conversation which is important, right? It's not being distracted. It's not looking over someone's head to talk to the next person. Very important in one-on-one contact. But what I really mean by staying present, guys, is realizing that the only thing you can change is what is right now. Where we get locked down is we think about what we did in the past and we get tripped up. I regret that I didn't do this. I did this wrong. I wish that conversation had gone better. I wish. All of those things that are in the past cannot be changed. So the quicker we can learn and let go and learn from the past and what we would do different today, the more powerful it is, because that's what we can change. When we're dealing with uncertainty, a lot of our attention is that future, right? What's going to happen? When are we going to have a vaccine? When's this going to end? When can I hug my parents again? All of those things, like we talked about on the concern bucket, are things in the future that I can't control. What we control is right here, those next 3 steps, moving to action right now. So once we start to really think about every day, how can I be present in my engagement, can be incredibly powerful for moving forward in your business and in your role in the business community. I've got a whole other list here, but I'm thinking, Alicia, I probably need to take a breath and answer questions. I don't know how long people can stay on, but I'm open to whatever.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone has a question, maybe you feel stuck in a certain area, feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. We have about 11 minutes.
Oh, good. 11 whole minutes. I've got more too. But let's stop and ask.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking?
Well, I will just reiterate what you said about taking action, because once the data had come in and we started seeing treatments come out, and it wasn't that everybody on the planet was going to die. So I made a choice because I could feel myself locking down, right? Even though we're still out doing business personally, in my own personal life, I could feel myself feeling fearful, right? And so I just made a choice that I was going to go out every day and do something that I did not want to do. You know, masked up, hand sanitizer, you know, still doing the stuff. And so, you know, I went to Sonic because I was like, that was a thing, right? You're interacting with people and you don't know where your food's coming from. And I ordered food out, you know, and do all the stuff. And when the restaurants opened up, you go to the restaurant. So just instead of, I think for everybody to kind of like what y'all were saying a while ago, is put your toe in, you know. And I think once you're out, and what I really found, because we just did a parade for a firefighter friend of mine that's struggling with stage 4 colon cancer, it was awesome to see people out and about, because I think once you do that, that sense of community comes around, and that alleviated so many fears, you know, because you've got everybody out and about. So yeah, I would just challenge everybody, just go do something that you really don't want to do and mask up and put some hand sanitizer on.
Challenge yourself and push to action. Absolutely, Susan. And it gets us out of our head and out of our stuck feeling, right? Great input. Thank you very much.
I have to share a funny.
Yes, we love funnies.
I have never shopped for my groceries online because I just have this need to pick out my own groceries, and it's a control thing, I know. But it's also a trust thing. Like, am I going to get the things that I really need in the quantities that I need and so forth? Well, a friend of mine posted a post on Facebook, and she took a picture of 3 cases of eggs and 6 groupings of a dozen bananas. And she said, so I ordered online and mistakes were made. So, you know, there is some levity to be had that, you know, sometimes you just have to say, well, that didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out.
That's right. I was so curious how she cooked and what she did with all that, by the way.
I just said, you know, you've got a lot of banana bread to make. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. I'm expecting my banana bread delivery next week, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
But, you know, it's just kind of a symbolic of the fact that we can have the best intention, and we have to trust a process. And sometimes it doesn't work out the way that we intended it to work out, but you just have to make adjustments and move forward.
That's right. Absolutely.
I think we've also been reminded that we have to take risks at this time. Like what you were saying earlier about, we know it has worked in the past. Well, we don't know anything that will work in the future right now. And we're all in that boat together, and just being willing to take the risks and not be paralyzed by the fear. I think you're reminded us of that today too, Deb.
Well, thank you, Alicia. And to me, think about just the words and the inspiration from an abundance perspective versus scarcity. And when you think about risk, when you think about what you can gain as you take those risks, right? Whether it's giving back to your community, like Susan mentioned, or growing the business in a whole new way, there is opportunity if you choose to look at it that way going forward. So absolutely. And supporting each other. You know, one of the other tips I had written down is, you know, there is a lot of research out there on the importance of putting your goals in writing. And I don't know if you've ever done that, if it's just business goals or weight loss goals, but when you commit something to writing, there is something in your brain that says, oh crap, this matters. I'm willing to admit that and put it in paper. And twofold, when you can share that with what I call an accountability partner. When I do group coaching, I always assign them to accountability partners where they voice their leadership goals with each other so that they can help hold each other accountable. And when you go to someone and you say, Alicia, I'm going to meet 3 new prospects for my business each week, and then Alicia comes back to me and says, how'd you do? It feels very different than me just in my mind dreaming up that I might want to do that. So as you look forward in your business, if you'll commit it to writing, and then if you are willing to share that with someone who can hold you accountable, that can be powerful as well. And Susan, maybe that is someone saying each day, like you said, I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. And who can I talk to and share that story with? That can be helpful as well.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much. We appreciate you, giving you air applause. And we also are thankful for Legend Bank, who is sponsoring the May webinar series. So we appreciate them as our sponsor as well. And Deb's webinar will be online, and Marianne will follow up with an email that will have it linked in to that, and any of the resources that she's willing to share will include that with that email. But for now, we just appreciate your support of the Chamber, and we hope to see you next week. Aaron Spatz, who's on the call, will be on, and he has great wisdom to share. Aaron, did you want to give us a preview for next week?
No, I'll save it for next week. I really appreciate Deborah taking time out of your schedule, and thanks for sharing everything that you did. Really impactful content. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Well, you guys reach out to me. I'm happy to visit with you and talk about any of this that's helpful to you. That's what I do. I love it. Just great to be a part of it. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Feel free to follow up.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Good luck next week.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.